A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Alan Kiama. And now, the government has strongly criticized the BBC documentary Blood Parliament, calling it biased and an attempt to tarnish the country's image. Addressing the media on Tuesday, government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura condemned the documentary, which investigates the deaths of Gen Z protesters during the June 25th of last year storming of Parliament. Mwaura argued that the production failed the principles of balanced reporting by not seeking comment from either his office or President William Ruto's, denying the government a right of reply. Mwaura also disclosed that the government has reached out to the BBC for clarification on several claims made in the film, which he said risk reigniting public anger linked to the Gen Z protest. He questioned the credibility of the documentary's alleged government sources, insisting he is the only official authorized to speak on behalf of the state. Now, on allegations implicating police officers, Mwaura noted that the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, had investigated 90 deaths with 22 cases already concluded. The BBC, which analyzed over 5,000 images for the documentary, reported that authorities blocked its public screening at Ansi Nairobi Cinema on Monday evening, which was to include a panel discussion.
Itasimama, Kenya itanawiri kwa umoja na uzalendo. Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo. Je, wewe? Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo daima. Today we would want to address various issues and concerns, and as it was really put very clearly, the BBC documentary that was aired is really one-sided because they didn't have a view of the government. Obviously and sincerely, we really send our most sincere condolences to the families of those affected, and we have IPOA on the cases. They have already issued a statement of the 60 deaths that were recorded. About 22 cases have been finalized. And there is more information to this that we shall be releasing as well, so that then these issues are being taken care of. And that is very important. However, it is true to say that also those who did the documentary should have sought government opinion on the same, so that they can be fair and balanced, and so that we can have a proper story that also shows the two sides of the situation. For example, they show a parliament being burnt, but they don't show who is doing it. They seem to minimize the various the vandalization that happened in Parliament, and going forward, because we cannot have a country that also is led through anarchy and mayhem. Yes, there were legitimate concerns. They never even gave a proper account of the issues within the finance bill, because we do not want a situation where we have people inciting Kenyans to violence. And also, if you look at even the whole documentary, they never spoke about the issue, even giving the president's speech ample time to be heard. They were very keen to show the other side of the story. And there are always at least two sides of a story. And there is also the government position on this issue. And once again, I would want to say as a government spokesperson, on behalf of the government, that we send our sincere condolences to those that are departed. Every life is important, and IPOA is getting to the bottom of it. And it is important that we have a dialogue and conversation, but then where you hear both sides of the story, not just one side, as if you have a premeditated narrative. We've already reached out to BBC. It's good to say that very clearly on these issues, and we have already expressed our sentiments to them, and we will be communicating going forward as far as this matter is concerned.
Members of Parliament have hit out the British Broadcasting Corporation BBC over its documentary titled Blood Parliament, saying it's meant to paint Kenya negatively. The lawmakers accused the BBC of turning a blind eye to atrocities going on in other parts of the world, including the killing of children and women in Gaza, and only focusing on Kenya. The matter was raised by Mandera North Member of Parliament Major Bashir Abdullahi, who complained that despite the report giving Parliament Parliament a bad name, it is also interfering with the reconciliation that has been going on in the country since 25th of June last year killings. Dagoretti South Member of Parliament John Kiare claimed that the investigative story was fueled by a condition put by Parliament during the ratification of the agreement between Kenya and the UK on the British Army Training Unit in Kenya Batuk, that soldiers training in the country who commits any atrocity will be charged locally.
Mr. Speaker, even in media, that the BBC is funded by taxpayers' money in Britain, meaning that BBC is funded to push the foreign agenda of the British people internationally, Mr. Speaker. And so we must know, is BBC speaking as a mouthpiece of the government and the people of Britain? Or what is it that the BBC is doing? Could it be an attempt to untwist this country so that they can rescind on the rider that we put on their training of the Batuk units in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and perpetuate a history of extractive economy, oppressive economy, and exploitative economy in a very unfair trade balance between Kenya and the UK. Mr. Speaker, even as we debate this matter, it is not lost to us that yes, there were unfavorable events that took place in the time and the lead up to the finance bill.
Moving on swiftly, today in the National Assembly, two bills were slated to be debated before the House, the Social Protection Bill and the VAT Bill, both of which originated from the House and sponsored by leader of the majority now. But there was an uproar among women members of Parliament when Busia County Women Rep Catherine Omanya lamented over cuts in the Affirmative Fund, NGAF, a kitty under their watch. The legislatures went on to castigate the BBC documentary report, which they say paints Parliament in a bad light. However, Honorable Millie Odhiambo asked the government to act on the issues raised by the Gen Z, which the BBC highlighted.
I just want to understand, the money itself is meager, very little, that you cannot think to deduct but increase. So we need the women reps, all the women in Kenya, to be represented, to be heard, and we do not want theory every day of women are being empowered, women are being given opportunities, women, and yet it is like giving somebody a present of a goat, but you stick on the rope.
Today, we are joyless. That's why you see we are wearing black. Everything that we have worn.
What is on your head is not black.
This one is NGAF color. NGAF color.
In this country, we have fought for 2/3 gender rule.
La kusikitisha, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanawake hasa kina mama 47 katika bunge hili wamedharauliwa sana. Juzi hapa nilimuuliza waziri wa fedha, hizi pesa zilikatwa vipi? Akasema zilikatwa hapa. Tukija kuangalia hapa, hazikukatwa hapa Mheshimiwa Spika, zimekatwa kule Treasury Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mr. Speaker, these women, remember, they also occupy very big constituencies. I honestly and kindly request you, Mr. Speaker, to stop the debate and give order to the person who deducted their money to return that money immediately.
At whatever we do. BBC is a world-renowned station, media station. They have never talked about the genocide that is happening in Gaza, and yet it's a world service. But they want to incite at this time. So, Honorable Speaker, I think why I'm raising this point, because the title itself talks about bloodbath parliament. They should have talked about the protests that happened that day in Kenya or Nairobi, but they chose to use the term bloodbath parliament. That is to also see Parliament in a very bad light.
We would like to know for a fact whether what BBC is hearing is connected to the riders that this House put on the training of the British Army training units in Kenya, where we were requiring that any officer of the British Army, if they are found here in Kenya to have killed, to have maimed, to have raped They should be tried here in the mother soil, as it would happen even for a Kenyan if they were found guilty of a criminal offense in the UK.
And on this issue, I want to take the path less travel. Mr. Speaker, we lost many young people. And we have very many young people who are traumatized as a consequence of what happened. Mr. Speaker, it is a point in our country that all of us wish never happened, but it happened. Mr. Speaker, I think we have not handled this issue well, and that is why sometimes you find people from outside are coming to document this. If as Kenya, we were able to acknowledge that things went wrong, and we need to fix it, then Mr. Speaker, even if BBC aired it, it doesn't matter. We have to fix our own problems on our own. We don't have to wait for BBC to tell us there was something wrong.
Now to the next story. Former Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i, Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, among other leaders, have today met for the first time in public. The meeting aimed to chart the way forward for the vibrant opposition as they plan on a new strategy on taking over the country's leadership. The meeting was held in Kilgoris, Transmara, just a day after BBC broadcast a documentary about the Gen Z killing that took place last year, June. Davis Karani reports.
It is the first public appearance of a joint opposition leaders as Dr. Fred Matiang'i completes the fully rebranded opposition, becoming the 7th member of the team, breaking the usual Pentagon slogan, hence morphing into a septagon figure. This comes in amid the BBC expose which exposed the frontline gunmen who cut short the life of young Kenyans who are agitating for their rights, spurring reactions in the country due to the high rate of extrajudicial killings that were experienced on that day, which the opposition has slammed the government for allowing it to happen under its watch.
There's Eric. He's caught in the stampede. And we lose him.
The meeting included former DP Rigathi Gachagua, former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, former Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the Attorney General Emeritus Justin Muturi, former Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi, PLP Party Leader Martha Karua and Eugene Wamalwa.
No, you need to get these guys. They're coming out.
Yes.
Will they maintain their unity to the latter? Ours is to keep the eye and bring you the full details. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
The reopening of Burangi Primary School in Maragini, Kilifi County has brought a renewed sense of hope and stability to the local community. The school, which was previously shut down due to the devastating floods, has been relocated and fully reconstructed on safer ground, a move that promises a safer learning environment for its students.
The school was relocated to a more secure area far from the flooding-prone zones.
Shule hii ilianza mwaka 1974 lakini inapatikana sehemu karibu na mto Sabaki, na baada ya miaka ikaonekana kwamba shule ile inaoshwa ama iko katika hatari ya kupitiwa ama kuchukuliwa na maji ya mto Galana. Kwa hivyo serikali wakaanzisha mpango maalum wa kuihamisha hadi mahali tulipo sasa hivi, na katika mpango huo tunataka kushukuru serikali kwamba sasa hivi madarasa yale 8 ambayo yamekusudiwa ama yalikusudiwa kujengwa sasa yamekamilika, na ni furaha yetu kama shule na kama jamii kwamba maono haya sasa yametimilika.
The reconstruction has not only restored the school's infrastructure, but has also enhanced it significantly.
Having that new structure, those new buildings and that new school yenye tumeka pale, ita complement na ita improve the educational component ya eneo hili. We have the new classes, we have proper lab infrastructure, the lab buildings yenye tumeka hapa tulipo hakuna hata lab hata moja. So kule tumeweka the lab building, alafu tumeweka the junior secondary school, ambao wanafunzi wakishamaliza wakitaka ku advance to the junior secondary itakuwa ni iko pale pale. They don't need to enroll to other schools zenye ziko na junior secondary.
The successful relocation and rebuilding of the school were made possible through a partnership between the Coast Development Authority and the Italian government, underscoring the importance of cross-border cooperation in supporting education and disaster recovery efforts.
Burangi Primary School, the school was affected by erosion. It was condemned by Public Works. So when we sought aid from Italians, they funded the new school, and the school is expected to relocate within the next 1 week.
With its door open once again, Burangi Primary School marks a new chapter, one of resilience, renewed hope, and a commitment to safeguarding the education of future generations. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
In a major policy breakthrough, the government has unlocked funding that had stalled critical infrastructure projects with renewed focus on the Nyanza region. Speaking during an inspection of the 122-kilometer Mambolo Junction Miwani, Chemelil Muhoroni Kipseket Road, Deputy Chief of Staff Eliud Owalo confirmed that road projects across the country will now move forward. The 15 billion shillings road implemented by Kenya and divided into 3 sections is expected to boost regional trade and open up Kenya's sugar belt. Construction has resumed on the 33-kilometer Mamboleo Miwani stretch led by China Railway No. 10 Engineering Group Limited at a cost of 5.2 billion shillings. Now, locals, leaders and engineers have welcomed the progress, calling it a major step towards unlocking the region's economic potential. Here is more on the story.
The contractor is back on site, and based on certain payments which was recently made, the government has now unlocked the funding challenge for the road sector that we have been witnessing over the past 2 years. And I want to state that all stalled roads in the country will be completed in the not too distant future because the funding challenge has now been sorted out. With respect to the international stature of this airport, we want the airport to be the channel that we use to export produce from this region to overseas markets. We want to export the fish from the lake directly through the airport, Kisumu Airport. We also want to export the produce from the farm directly through the airport. So in the master plan for Kenya Airports Authority, the issue of cargo handling capacity becomes fundamental. And I believe this is work in progress from the information that I've been told. And very soon we will be coming to with the management of Kenya Airports Authority to assess that. Exactly. Yeah.
Now with this, we're able to view the whole airport, not just within within the airport, but even beyond the airport we can view. That gives advantage of visibility and also communication. And in terms of equipment and personnel, we're able to put a state-of-the-art equipment and also have a bigger number of personnel doing various jobs which will add capacity and efficiency to the operations that we have here in Kisumu.
The Ulwa clan in Sigomore, Ugunja sub-county is appealing for financial help to bury 9 members of a family who died in a suspected arson attack. The family of Omo Pondo Adala, including his wife and 7 children, were to be buried on the 2nd of May 2025, but the burial has been postponed to the 9th of May due to lack of funds. The community, led by Bishop Okoth Okoyo and Elder Ochieng, says despite pledges from individuals and Siaya County government, no support has been received. The estimated budget of 2.5 million shillings include coffins, burial expenses, and completing a house the late Adala had started to shelter the 2 surviving children and honor Luo traditions. Local authorities have assured the public of increased security and ongoing investigations. The 2 suspects have been arrested. The community urges government and well-wishers to support the grieving family.
Huu tulikuwa tumepanga kwamba tunaweza kuwazika tarehe 2, lakini tunapata uzito kwa upande wa fedha. Hatuna pesa kutoka mahali. Ukiangalia hii boma pia nyumba ilichomeka ikaanguka chini. Sasa kwa wakati huu chenye tunayo kwa mkono hatuna, ndiposa tumekuja kwamba tulikuwa tumepanga kuzika tarehe 2, tukahayarisha kwamba iwe tarehe 9. Sasa wakati huu hatuna chochote kwa mikononi mwetu. Bajeti yetu ni 2.5 million. Kwa wakati huu hatuna hata shilingi 10 hatujapata. County government ilikuwa imekuja hapo nyuma ikatuahidi kwamba tufanye mpango ya budget. Tusafanya hivyo, tukarepresent kwa county government. Mpaka wakati huu hatujapata majibu.
County government ilikuwa hapa na walituahidi kwamba tutengeneze budget tuwapatie. Mlisikia ndugu Okoth Okoyo akisema kwamba budget yetu ilikuwa 2.5 milioni. Hiyo 2.5 milioni ni pamoja na kurepair hii nyumba mnaona hapo nyuma ndugu yangu alianza kujenga na hajamaliza. Na tulikuwa tunaomba kwamba kama inawezekana hata shelter kidogo tupate hapo mbele, ili hatuwezi kuzika kwa msituni. Kulingana na kimila lazima tukue na kitu kama kanyumba hivi wakati tunataka kuzika. Na hiyo zaidi tulikuwa tunaomba hiyo nyumba ndugu yangu alianza tukamilishe, ili watoto wale wamebaki hapo wawili ambao hii kisa ilitokea kama wako nje wapate shelter, itawasaidia baadaye.
Kwa hivyo kwa wakaaji, mimi nawahakikishia jambo moja tu. Serikali inafanya njia zozote zile za kuhakikisha wale waliofanya kitendo hichi kibaya wameshikwa na wakaweza kuwekwa sheria ikafuata mkondo wake. Hata saizi kwa wenye tunaendelea saizi, mengi yanaendelea kufanyika ambaye tuwezi speculate sahi. Ofisi wa DCI na apparatus zote za serikali zinafanya kila lolote kuwezesha wenye walifanya kitendo hichi waweze wakashikwa na wakastakiwa na sheria ikafuata mkono wake. Lingine ninahakikishia wakaaji, saizi msiwe na hofu. Afisa wetu wa polisi wanafanya patrols kila jioni kuhakikisha kuwa eneo hili liko salama. Kwa hivyo nawahakikishia mkae na amani, serikali iko nyuma yenu na serikali inawalinda kwa vyovyote vile. Asanteni.
It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into a social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
Anza wiki yako kwa njia sahihi kwa GBS Jumatatu.
Niko nawe hadi midai ya saa 4 asubuhi. Kwanza niseme asante kwa kuzidi kufuatilia na kutazama vipindi vyetu ambavyo huwa tunakuandalia hapa ndani ya GBS TV Jumatatu. People are now seeing the money that have been given to church as a bribe.
Jiunge nasi kila Jumatatu asubuhi kuanzia saa 1:30.
Nimesikia mwenzangu akifanya hesabu hapo ya vile ambavyo miungano zitakuwa. Ruto is going to fail whether with Raila or without Raila.
Kuna mahali anakosea akisema ati Raila na Ruto wataungana. Hakuna kuungana iko hapo, ndugu yangu, aje nikwambie ukweli.
Hadithi za kunoga.
Ukiangalia Wakenya, wananchi wa Kenya, pia hao maisha yao imedhulumiwa kwa kuongezwa kwa taxes, ziko very high taxes. So the statement by Rigathi Gachagua is just statement ya kumcheck that we can see you we can see between the lines.
Na mazungumzo yenye nguvu ya kukuletea utulivu kwa wiki yako.
Ati Raila ataingia UDA.
Hiyo ni ndoto. Mimi yote nasema hawezi, sababu nasema hivi mheshimiwa, ikiwa Raila
itakuwa, mimi naona itakuwa
hadi saa 4 za asubuhi kwa majadiliano ya kusisimua.
Mheshimiwa Rais William Samoei Ruto ajue ya kwamba sasa yeye ni president wa Kenya. Sio mambo ya kufanyia wana Kenya mzaha. Kupoteza biashara kwa siku moja katika CPD, nafikiria ni jambo ambalo ni rais.
Usikose, ingia kwenye GPS TV. Anza Jumatatu yako kwa kusudi.
If the government does not spend, my brother, hakuna maendeleo inaonekana, hakuna barabara zinatengenezwa, hakuna dawa kwa hospitali, my friend, economies will not grow.
Tuonane panapo majaliwa yake Mwenyezi Mungu.
GPS Jumatatu, palipo mjadala wa leo na mwelekeo wa kesho.
Topic of discussion leo is a hustle culture. Hustle culture, and this is working smart versus working hard.
Working hard is where nina hustle. I'm working like a donkey.
Unaweza pata maybe ulisoma, yes, maybe kumaliza shule, maybe hii inahitaji maybe diploma, maybe ulifika certificate level. So I feel pia knowledge inachangia sana.
Yes,
watu kukua kwa informal.
You have to like plan. You also have to delegate, and it's also sometimes about convenience. What is convenience for you?
Tunaweza work smart hata kama ni kwa informal jobs. Tuki-apply hiyo working smart, we can do something. Si lazima tu ikuwe ni kazi ile uko chini.
I'm picking a dare. Okay. What? Call your mom or dad and sing the chorus of their favorite song loudly. Mama Vanessa,
just a second.
We are live on TV. I need to.
Which TV?
GBS TV. I'm on the Youth Hub and they want me to sing you a song. I've been dared to sing your favorite song. So
no, don't sing that one, man.
No.
Sing yours.
No, I will sing a nice one. I know many of your songs.
Sing that song.
I sing Daddy's song, fine.
Loudly, read.
I love you.
Shout.
You're my baby. I love you. You're the best. Bye, mommy. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back now to international news. The United Nations Refugee Agency is urging of deep funding cuts as global displacement reaches record levels. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees Chief Filipino Grandi told the Security Council that deep funding gaps may force the agency to slash up to a third of its operations, a move he says could have devastating consequences for both vulnerable populations and global stability.
United Nations Refugee Agency Chief Filippo Grandi warned the UN Secretary Council that his organization may be forced to cut up to 1/3 of its operational capacity due to a severe funding crisis.
The financial rules of my organization do not allow me to spend more than the money that I have or is firmly pledged. So we have now started cutting, unfortunately. I fear, and I said this to the Council in my final remarks, that we may be cutting up to 1/3 of the capacity of our organization. This is pretty dramatic.
Calling the situation pretty dramatic, he criticized the Council's ongoing failure to prevent conflict and uphold peace, which continues to drive mass displacement.
Preventing and stopping war, upholding peace and security, this is the Security Council's mandate. This is your primary responsibility, and one that, you will forgive me for again saying it, this body has chronically failed to live up to. But please, do not resign yourselves to the defeat of diplomacy. I speak to you today once more on behalf of the 123 million people forcibly displaced, who are among the first victims of wars.
Grandi urged member states to remain committed to diplomacy and support, emphasizing that refugee hosting countries and humanitarian workers are fulfilling their roles. However, lack of international backing risks deepening the crisis.
Refugee receiving countries are making the right decision. They are doing their part. We, the humanitarians, are on the ground doing our part. You must be more committed and more united to do yours. That is the essential calculus for ending humanitarian and refugee crisis, Mr. President. Security and self-reliance, and both must convey a sense of being durable.
He warned that freezing or cutting aid already has fatal consequences, weakening fragile host nations and threatening global stability.
Aid is stability. Freezing or cutting aid budgets is already having fatal consequences on millions of lives. It means, among many other things, abandoning displaced people to their fate, taking support away from sometimes very fragile host countries, and ultimately undermining your own stability.
Speaking to reporters after the session, he confirmed that budget constraints have already triggered cuts, as the agency is legally unable to spend beyond confirmed pledges, a move he said could endanger millions.
I don't want to hear any more people telling me do more with less. This is absurd. You will do less with less. We will try to do it in the best possible way, the most rational way, maximizing efficiencies, becoming even more efficient, but it's going to be it's going to have an impact on millions of people.
Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud says that he has not yet decided whether he will run for re-election in 2026. Speaking to Kenya's Nation Media Group, he emphasized that his priority right now is improving national security, boosting the economy, and ensuring Somalia's first direct election in decades. Our next story here at GBS TV. Continue following our story through our social media platforms. The Prime Minister Mark Carney emerges victorious in Canada's federal election, promising to fight against U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war and threats of annexation. The rookie politician cemented the Liberals' fourth straight term in government, a rare feat in Canadian politics, while holding back the Conservative Party led by Pierre Poilievre.
Liberal win over the Conservatives, which registered its strongest showing in decades, despite coming second, aligned Canada's politics with that of its American neighbor. For now, it is essentially a divided two-party country. The results vanquished the progressive New Democratic Party and forced the election night resignation of its leader. After polls closed, the Liberals were projected to win more of Parliament's 343 seats than the Conservative Party. In a victory speech in Ottawa, Mr. Carney said that US President Donald Trump was trying to break them in order for America to have custody over them.
That is Nepean. That is the spirit of Nepean behind me right there. Here. I have a question. Who's ready? Who's ready to stand up for Canada with me? And who's ready? Who's ready to build Canada strong? Okay, we got that settled. That's good. I also want to salute the women and men who put their name on the ballot from all parties. Thank you for standing up to serve our country at this critical time. As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen.
While Carney's Liberal Party is projected to have won the election, it is not yet clear if he will be able to form a majority government. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has conceded defeat, congratulating Carney and saying that, quote-unquote, Canadians have opted for a razor-thin minority government. Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the New Democratic Party, says that he will step down after losing his seat and a dismal showing for his left-leaning party. The Liberals look to be heading for a crushing defeat until the US president started attacking Canada's economy and threatening its sovereignty.
As we come here after this most consequential election. Let's put an end to the division and anger of the past. We are all Canadian, and my government will work for and with everyone. Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The system of open global trade, anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over.
Mr. Trump's accusations infuriated Canadians and stoked a surge in nationalism that helped the Liberals flip the election narrative and win a fourth straight term in power.
We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons.
The Liberals looked to be heading for a crushing defeat until the US president started attacking Canada's economy and threatening its sovereignty. This is Jeff Abuki, GBS TV News, Nairobi.
Hopes for peace in Gaza may be edging closer to reality. Negotiations are happening in Cairo between key regional stakeholders are reportedly nearing a significant breakthrough, while no official confirmation has come from Israel, Hamas, or mediating parties. This behind-the-scenes development signals potential progress towards a long-term ceasefire in the war-torn enclave. Meanwhile, sectarian clashes broke out in Syria's capital Damascus, leading to the death of at least 13 people, while Amnesty International has accused Israel of committing what it describes as a live-stream genocide in Gaza, alleging that Israeli forces have engaged in actions intended to wipe out Palestinians. According to the human rights organization, Israel's conduct, including inflicting harm on civilians and blocking humanitarian aid, violates the UN Genocide Convention. Abdi Ahmed Ali reports.
Talks in Cairo have drawn together delegations from Egypt, Israel, and Hamas. Sources say a framework for a permanent ceasefire is being shaped, though deep disagreements remains, especially over Israel's demand that Hamas disarm, a condition the group has so far rejected. In recent statements, Hamas indicated openness to a prolonged truce conditional on an end to the war and the return of Israeli hostages. Yet Israeli officials remain committed to neutralizing Hamas's military presence and influence in Gaza. Despite differing stances and complex demands, the willingness of both parties to stay engaged in dialogue points to a faint but growing possibility for de-escalation. If this momentum leads to agreements, it could mark a pivotal turning point in a conflict that has already claimed the lives of 52,000 Palestinians and 1,200 Israelis. The world now watches closely, hoping that the talks in Cairo may finally open the door to lasting peace. Meanwhile, a sectarian clash broke out in Damascus, leading to 13 deaths. The violence was sparked by a recording of a Druze man cursing Prophet Muhammad. The Druze are a group of ethno-religious minority whose religion revolves around Abrahamic beliefs and incorporates different religions from Christianity and Islam. Local authorities are investigating the origins of the recording and have urged citizens to maintain peace. The situation in Syria remains critical, with ethnic and sectarian tensions running high in a country scarred by nearly 14 years of civil war. Israel has offered to intervene to protect the Druze, many of whom live in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Local activists have pointed fingers at the Syrian government for failing to prevent the attack, warning that the authorities must take responsibility for any future repercussions. As the country grapples with its fractured political landscape, the ability to maintain peace between communities appears more fragile than ever. Amnesty International report details a series of actions by Israeli forces in Gaza, including airstrikes that have killed civilians even after evacuation orders were issued, and the detention and forced disappearance of Palestinians. The report further accuses Israel of creating living conditions in Gaza designed to cause physical harm, a violation of international law. Amnesty International Secretary General condemned the global response to the ongoing violence, especially criticizing powerful nations, including the United States, for their support of Israel's actions. She describes the war in Gaza as a live-stream genocide where the international community has watched as Israeli forces caused massive civilian casualties, while Israel has denied the genocide charges, claiming its actions are in self-defense against Hamas. Amnesty's report emphasizes the devastating toll on Palestinian lives. Since the conflict began in October 2023, 52,000 Palestinians have died, including over 17,000 children. The International Court of Justice are now reviewing a case against Israel after Israel has refused to allow aid supplies like food, clean water, and medical supplies in Gaza, which is a violation of international humanitarian law. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
In a show of growing global influence, BRICS foreign ministers gathered in Brazil to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges, from conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine to mounting trade tensions with the U.S. Hosted by Brazil Foreign Minister Vera, the meeting signals the bloc's push for a stronger voice in shaping international peace and reform. Here is more of the story.
BRICS foreign ministers met in Rio de Janeiro on Monday, welcomed by Brazil's Foreign Minister Mauro Vieira. With 11 member states representing nearly half of the world's population, Vieira highlighted BRICS' unique role in promoting peace, dialogue, and reform of global institutions like the UN Security Council.
With 11 member states representing nearly half of humanity and a wide geographic and cultural diversity, BRICS is uniquely positioned to promote peace and stability based on dialogue, development, and multilateral cooperation.
Key topics included conflicts in Africa and humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, Haiti, and Gaza. Vieira further condemned Israel's renewed bombings and the blockade of aid to Gaza, calling the situation unacceptable.
The path to peace is neither easy nor linear, but BRICS can and must be a force for good, not as a bloc of confrontation, but as a coalition of cooperation. We must lead by example, reaffirming our belief in a multipolar world where security is not the privilege of a few, but a right for all.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was among the top diplomats in attendance. As the meeting continues, BRICS aims to strengthen its voice in shaping a more balanced and inclusive global order. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a 3-day ceasefire this May to coincide with the 80th anniversary celebrations of Soviet Union's victory over Germany in the Second World War. The truce, which will take place from the 8th of May to 10th, is seen by Russia as a gesture of peace, but Ukraine has questioned the timing, calling for a longer, more meaningful ceasefire to open the door to real diplomatic discussions. Ukrainian President Zelensky has praised Ukraine's foreign intelligence service for its role in eliminating senior Russian military figures since the start of the war. However, Zelensky did not specifically address a recent car bomb attack that killed a senior Russian officer. Here's more of the story.
Putin declared a 3-day truce during the anniversary of the former Soviet Union victory during the Second World War. The temporary ceasefire will begin on May 8th and end on May 10th. Putin's declaration follows a series of talks between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, where U.S. expressed frustration over the lack of permanent ceasefire. Ukraine, however, remained critical of the short-term nature of the truce, with President Zelensky pointing out that the pause was designed solely to maintain order during Putin's military parade, not to facilitate peace. Meanwhile, Russia insists that any agreements must come through direct negotiations without preconditions, a stance Ukraine rejects, pointing to Russia's illegal occupation of its territory. Both sides continue to accuse each other of stalling peace talks, with the international community urging for a more substantial commitment to end the war. The Kremlin stated today that Ukraine has not responded to the 3-day ceasefire talks. Ukraine's concerns are not unwarranted. The skepticism surrounding Russia's ceasefire proposal stems from Russia's violation of a temporary Easter ceasefire, which resulted in a deadly airstrike. Zelensky praised the Ukrainian intelligence for the killings of senior Russian officials, though the Ukrainian government has not directly commented on the car bomb that killed Yaroslav Moskalik last Friday. He acknowledged the agency's ongoing efforts to combat Russian agent networks within Ukraine and praised its operation as effective. However, he avoided mentioning the specifics of Moskalik's death or any other military officer's casualties, reflecting Ukraine's broader strategy of indirect acknowledgement in its intelligence operations, as the intelligence services of both Russia and Ukraine move to disrupt each other's operation in a war, despite being publicly fought on the battlefield, is also being waged in the shadows. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
Well, it's time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Rising Stars are on a mission to Cairo as they kick off their campaign at the AFCON Under-20 tournament on Thursday against Morocco, with scouts from top clubs in attendance. Football Kenya Federation Vice President McDonald Mariga said this is a major stage for the Kenya's young talent to break through. Elvis Muyodi has more.
As the Rising Stars prepare to take center stage at the ongoing AFCON tournament in Egypt, Football Kenya Federation Vice President McDonald Mariga believes it is the perfect stage for young talents to catch the eye of top clubs and international scouts. With his own career rooted in youth football success, Mariga knows firsthand the value of such exposure and is urging the players to grab this golden opportunity.
FIFA wametoa tournament mzuri kwa sababu kutakuwa na Africa Cup Under 20 na bado World Cup Under 20 kila year. So hiyo inamaanisha our players watakuwa exposed out here, na unajua hapa tunaita soko. Tunaita soko ya wachezaji. Kwa hivyo hapa we have a lot of agents watakuja kuangalia players, na unajua ndio the right age kutafuta good players wa ku represent their clubs. So what I can tell the players wa perform, wajitume, na hapa ndo future inaanzia. Hapa ndo future yao inaanzia, hapa ndo career yao inaanzia.
Mariga also revealed ambitious plans by FKF to construct a modern sports complex dedicated to nurturing youth talent.
Egypt, I think hao walianza hizi vitu zao mapema kujenga technical centers, na I think pia sisi tumelearn sana kwa sababu tumekuwa ya Dubai, tumekuwa ile iko Qatar, tumekuwa nikicheza nimeona technical centers mingi, timu zetu zimekuwa na technical centers, so I think sasa ni high time pia Kenya tuanzishe yetu, na soon tunaanzisha yetu. Pia sisi tujivunie na kuleta talent yetu na kukuza talent yetu huko nyumbani.
Inspired by global models including those in Egypt, the complex is envisioned as a hub where Kenya youth can grow, train and prepare to compete at the highest level. It is a vision of long-term investment in grassroots development, one that could reshape the future of football in the country. As the Rising Stars gear up for the upcoming clash against Morocco on Thursday, the team spirit is high and the players have promised to give their all for the nation and capitalize on this chance to shine.
Tumepiga training poa, tunajua tutapiga performance poa na wata enjoy na waanze kuzoeana sahi. Tuko ready enough ku face any team. So far so good. Any team inakam sisi tuna deal nao venye nafaa. And like I said before, we are here to win. Tujakuja hapa kama losers.
Mimi naweza sema so far so good. Tuna train poa. Kila mchezaji ana show up na aim yetu sisi sote ni kuwin tournament.
With dedication, belief and national pride, the Rising Stars are ready to leave their mark on the continental stage. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
We have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same time, same channel. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Alan Kiama. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.